Alright guys, I'm doing another versus video today. Katakuri versus Jack, okay? Two people semi-recently been introduced into the story, and they're both complete monsters as far as we've seen. With Katakuri being the strongest of the Sweet Commanders, only being topped by Big Mom and the Big Mom crew, and giving Luffy an extremely difficult time as of right now in the manga, and Jack being the #1 commander of the Kaido Pirates, and being able to fight both Neko and Inu, switching off non-stop for days on end with having almost no problem at all. This would be an amazing fight, and it's really hard to say who would win it. I didn't think I'd be able to get to make Katakuri versus battles so soon, since I didn't think we'd get to see so much of him, but we really have lately. I mean, this fight between Katakuri and Luffy has been going on and on. We've seen move after move, and I think there's a decent amount of stuff to talk about him for. But let's start with Jack, since he was introduced first in the story, and we probably know a little bit less about him. Specifically, what I mean by that is we haven't actually seen him use many abilities or anything. We do know what his devil fruit is, and we know what kind of weapons he uses, I guess, but we haven't really seen all these moves like Katakuri's been using lately. But what we do know is just stuff that he has done, okay? Like, kind of in the same situation where Dofi is willing to just go up against admirals whenever they show up, so we know that he is at least near their level. Jack does some things that indicate how powerful he is. For example, when Dofi was getting shipped to Impel Down on the warship, and some guy was scouting it out, and he's like, yep, Sengoku and Fujitora are on there. It's just completely surrounded with warships. We don't really have a chance. Let's get the fuck out of here. And Jack was like, oh, we're going in. Do you have any idea who the hell I am? So, while now I would say that I think he overestimated himself, in fact, I can pretty much guarantee that, considering the fact that he got smoked, at least as far as we know. I mean, he was injured and he didn't accomplish anything, so he definitely didn't win. But, I mean, you know, he was facing the original Fleet Admiral with a Mythical Zoan fruit, as well as Fujitora, so who really could even win that battle? Is there anyone in the One Piece world that could win that battle? Could an Emperor even win that battle? It's hard to say. But the fact alone that he was even willing to go in there, to go for it, and was so confident would seem to make me believe that he is at least Admiral level, or at least Fujitora level, who obviously is an Admiral, but I think he's one of the weaker ones. Another thing that I did mention earlier that is certainly a testament to his ability is that he was not just willing to just rush into Zou, take on whoever met him with absolutely no hesitation, but he took on Neko and Ino, who were switching off every 12 hours or so, you know, pretty much completely being rejuvenated to full power, while he was just taking them on little by little for days on end, and he was doing mainly fine. They were saying that they were getting the edge at the end after days, and that's why he had to pull out the poisonous gas. But, I mean, are you serious? Like, these guys, as far as we've seen, are very powerful. Sanji even said when he was inside of Capone that he could feel a very powerful presence approaching, so he wasn't really worried about anyone's safety when he was referring to Neko. I mean, these guys were on Gold Roger's ship, as well as are the people pretty much in charge of one of the 4 road poneglyphs, so it's not very hard to believe that they're pretty powerful. So that's pretty much the majority of what we've seen from him. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more once we get into Wano. Actually, we'll probably see all of it. I'm pretty excited for that, but for now, that's pretty much what we've got. And now on to Katakuri. We already know he is the strongest of the Sweet Commanders, and while I don't really know how strong Smoothie is, I think he is significantly stronger than Cracker, and I don't think she's probably so much better than Cracker, so Katakuri is far and away most likely the strongest of the Sweet Commanders. Now, the reason it's kind of hard for me to say how powerful he really is because I'm not sure if his battle against Luffy is really such a good indication of his strength. To be honest, when he was first introduced, I expected him to be a lot stronger. I thought that Luffy, or really anyone in the crew obviously, would have no way of beating him 1v1, and now it's looking actually pretty likely that Luffy's gonna pull something out of his ass. On top of that, at least as far as we've seen, Katakuri actually really counters Luffy in terms of their two Devil Fruits, since he can do almost everything Luffy can do, pretty much minus Gear 4th. He just does it in a stronger fashion, so it's a good counter. He's strong by himself, he has better hockey, but for some reason he just cannot close out this fight. I don't understand. He even has an awakened Devil Fruit, for God's sake. Like, I'm not really understanding so much why he isn't able to beat Luffy pretty easily. But the guy certainly does have his strengths. He is capable of flicking a jelly bean fast enough that it isn't blockable by Sanji's armament haki, based on the fact that he had to dodge it. As we've known for a while now, his observation haki is so goddamn powerful that he is capable of seeing up to 5 seconds into the future. Like, that is a power just in its completely own level. I'm not really sure to what extent that really works. Like, as we've seen, you can kind of to some degree change the future of what he's seen, but at the very least that means, just regularly speaking, his observation haki is off the charts, and it's pretty evident by Luffy saying that he wasn't used to people dodging so many of his abilities. We also just found out that his armament haki is significantly stronger than Luffy's, as soon as he pretty much turned it up, I guess, he made Luffy wince in pain, I guess, multiple times in a row. I'm not sure why he wasn't doing this the whole time, but it has been shown that he is capable of it, so there is that. His Devil Fruit is also pretty strong. It was actually originally thought to be a Logia because of its nature, and because of that you can assume that it is very powerful. Turns out that it's a special Paramecia, but it still does seem like a Logia, so it is very powerful. He can do a lot of interesting stuff with it. He can pretty much do everything minus Gear 4 that Luffy can do, and more. Might even be able to feed himself, not exactly sure on how that works. And something we found out more recently is that he even awakened it, and it seems like he did pretty well because he was using it very effectively. To put him on a power scale, I would say that he is as much stronger than Dofi is Cracker. And I know, a lot of you idiots are gonna be like, What? Oh my god, Cracker is stronger than Dofi! Well, that's okay. Go ahead, watch my video I made like 1 or 2 weeks ago about that exact topic. Cracker versus Dofi. Maybe I'll change your mind. If not, you can just talk shit in the comments there. I'd much prefer you talk shit at me in those comments than this one, since this is kind of a different subject. But anyway, so with that being said, we have now established power levels for each of these people. What do we think would happen if they were actually to fight 1v1? So Katakuri does start off with a pretty big height disadvantage, but that's not always so important in One Piece. But in this case, it is pretty severe, so it's worth mentioning. Katakuri standing at 16 feet 8 inches tall, while Jack is significantly bigger. We don't know his exact height, but let's put it this way. Inu and Neko are about the exact same height, and when Inu was fighting Jack, he was about 2.5 to 3 times the size, okay? And Inu is almost exactly 12 feet tall. So Jack would be twice as big, if not a little bit more than Katakuri. So that does hurt, but I don't think it's unforgivable. Especially when you consider the fact how large he can make his body parts by using his Devil Fruit, like when he matched Luffy's Gear 3rd. Luffy's Gear 3rd is massive compared to Luffy's body, and, well, Katakuri's Mochi version of Gear 3 was massive compared to Luffy's Gear 3. So I'd say his Devil Fruit does do a pretty good job of canceling that out, but how big does Jack actually get when he turns into a mammoth? I think he's pretty huge, and I wonder how much bigger he'd be than Katakuri then. But then again, that's another interesting thing with Jack. It seems to me that his Devil Fruit is not all that useful for doing anything besides just like destroying buildings or taking out plebs. In an actual 1v1 situation, I don't think it's that useful, especially considering the fact that as soon as Neko showed up, he just completely smoked Jack's ass as soon as he got there, and then Jack was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back into human form, mer-human form? I'm not exactly sure. He looks like a human. So honestly, I think it's safe to assume that Jack would be fighting in his non-Devil Fruit form in this fight. So then, with what we've seen so far, Jack would probably start using his cool-looking, I don't even know what you call those weapons, whatever they are. He'd probably start using them on Katakuri, Just normal, you know, fighting style, just slashing. And I think this would give Katakuri a large advantage for a lot of reasons. While I don't think his armament haki would be anywhere near strong enough to be able to block these attacks with his own body, I think that he could use his observation haki pretty easily to dodge the vast majority of Jack's attacks. In the fight we saw with Jack, to me it seemed at least, he's not so much of a strategical kind of fighter, he's kind of a meathead who just goes in and overpowers everyone. And if Katakuri doesn't really get hit, then there's not too much for Jack to do to him. Katakuri could also use his Awakened Devil Fruit to attack Jack from a distance. Maybe he could just like throw it at him, do some damage. I don't know how that really worked. Maybe he could just wrap him up. I'm not really sure what he could do with his Awakened Mochi, but I'm sure it'd be useful. I would imagine it's similar to Dofi's ability. It seemed like it so far, pretty much minus the piercing effect. I think the key for Katakuri in this battle really would be to use his Awakened Mochi, assuming it actually can do some kind of damage, because I think that he doesn't have nearly as much stamina as Jack. On top of that, Jack could also probably pretty easily overpower any attack he really sends in, including his Mochi. So he really just needs to try and wear down Jack as much as he possibly can while efficiently managing his own energy level. I'm not completely sure how much stamina and endurance he actually has, since he hasn't finished the fight with Luffy, but it does seem like Luffy has more than him. And Luffy obviously isn't nearly as powerful as Katakuri in a 1v1 battle, so, you know, like, maybe he's got like a Kakashi situation going on, not too much stamina. Where on the other hand, we have Mr. Jack, who just fights for days on end against multiple people, complete animals, by the way, and he just doesn't really have too much of an issue with it. He just gets a little bit tired after maybe a week of fighting. It really is hard to say who would win in a 1v1 battle between these two. Honestly, I can't really give an answer right now since Katakuri hasn't finished his fight with Luffy, but here's what I can do. I can give you an answer that won't really most likely answer the question at the time you're watching this, since most people that watch it will be not too long after I upload it. But here's what I will say. If Katakuri does beat Luffy in a fair fight, nothing ridiculous happens, and that's how it would be, honestly, if Katakuri won, then I think he would beat Jack. If he doesn't live up to his hype and he gets defeated by Luffy by fair means, then I don't really see how he could even come close to Jack's level. I don't think Luffy's anywhere near Jack's level, so how would that happen? So there you go, there's my answer for who would win. Probably in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, that will be a legitimate answer. So that pretty much wraps up this topic. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Remember to leave me a comment letting me know what you think about this battle. If you think Jack would win, Katakuri, why, how you think they would fight each other, what kind of abilities they would use against each other. Also, don't forget to let me know your ideas for future versus battles I could do, as well as just other theories and whatnot that I could talk about. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Talk to you guys Friday.